Well, it's time for another edition of our Rogers Capital Market Commentary, where we attempt to be the antidote to water cooler wisdom. So, what's going on at the water cooler these days? What's everybody talking about? What's going on? Is election maybe? Yeah, maybe so. Election, right? Tomorrow is 3 weeks before our 2024 election. And honestly, this is shaping up to be one of the most exciting and boring elections of my lifetime. Exciting, like fascinating in the sense of just never seen before, I don't think. To replace a presidential candidate after the convention, 3 months before the election, replace him with somebody who has never received a convention delegate, not this go round or even last time when she ran for her party's nomination. And on the Republican side, a former president who failed his re-election bid 4 years ago and is now running for a third time, who has survived 2 assassination attempts in the last however many handful of weeks. It's just fascinating, crazy, and yet on the other end, boring. Why boring? Well, because markets, Wall Street, doesn't seem to care anywhere near as much as you or I seem to care when it comes to these elections. Why is that? Well, because most Americans are going into the polls to vote with social issues on mind, and Wall Street investors just don't care about some of the things that may resonate with you or I. Don't care about abortion. Don't care about the southern border. Don't care about so many of these social agenda issues. Wall Street cares not about blue or red, but really only one color: green. Wall Street cares about profits. Who's going to drive profits? Now, first things first in this video, okay? I don't watch the political shows. I don't listen to the talk radio. I don't get on all the websites, and I don't do it. It has probably added 10 years to my life expectancy, but I don't get into it all. Now, quite a bit of it still bleeds through into my financial news feed, but let's talk potential impacts on investments, on finances. Let's take one side, let's take Harris's side first. She certainly has come out and suggested that she will increase the progressivity of the tax system. You've heard, no doubt, about the unrealized cap gain issue that she's proposing. One of the craziest things I've heard in a long time, and whether it actually affects you or I, it will affect our tax rate or tax payment, tax due. Certainly the devastation it would, likely bring on the markets, for forced sales to pay the tax for these billionaires, just interesting to say the least. And honestly, even with a dim sweep, she's probably not going to be able to get that done. It's likely dead on arrival. She's also talked about increasing the cap gains rate for everybody up to 28%, and raising the corporate income tax. On Trump's side of things, what can we expect? Well, probably a lot like we saw last time he was in there. Tax cuts, less regulation. In fact, he's claimed that he will cut 10 regulations for every one that his administration puts in place. We're likely to see cheaper interest rates like last time and cheaper energy. He's talked quite a bit, in fact, even last time, used tariffs as a negotiation tool with foreign countries, and this time's talked about using it as a revenue source. Really, a couple of the crazier things, even having both sides, I've heard this. Hey, no taxes on tips, and hey, no taxes on overtime, and okay, yeah, great. No taxes on anything. How about that? Never mind our almost $2 trillion annual budget deficit. Never mind $36 trillion of national debt, $271,000 per taxpayer. Never mind the fact that the interest on our national debt is over almost $1 trillion annually. Anyway, y'all are getting me wound up. Let's talk about actual market performance. Let's talk about historically how investments and markets perform in election years, especially the fourth quarter of an election year. Would you be surprised to learn that the fourth quarter of the last year, year 4 of a presidential cycle, has been positive 83% of the time? Yeah, and usually up about 2.5%, the average 2.5%. So is there reason to head for the hills because it's election day and historically no. Okay. In fact, if I asked you what the best combination is for investment returns, who's the best party to have the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives? What's the best combination? If I asked you what's the best outcome for us as investors, what would you guess? The best combination since 1950, by the way, so you're talking 74 years of returns. Since 1950, the best combination is a Democrat president with a Democrat Senate and a Republican House of Representatives, with that average return being 16.5%. What about number 2? The second best. Also, Democrat president, but with a Republican Senate and a Republican House of Representatives. 16.3%. Both of the top performing market environment, combination returns, the combination of Democrat and the White House. Who guessed that? Show of hands? Yeah. The 2 worst combinations, what would you guess? Republican president, Democrat Senate, Democrat House. Only a 4.9% return. And the second worst, Republican president, Republican Senate, and Democrat House. Only 6.7% return. So historical data suggests that markets prefer political gridlock. Why? I don't know exactly. Something probably to do with if there's gridlock in Washington, then they're all arguing with each other and the rest of us can live our lives and run our businesses and make money in the markets, right? So, but most importantly, there is someone who impacts the economy and markets. And who is that somebody? The Fed, the Federal Reserve, is infinitely more impactful regarding the economy and stock market performance. And the Fed is cutting rates. Already cut 50 basis points, likely to cut more. What's the Fed doing? Cutting rates. Which means what for investors? Means economic growth, means better corporate profits, and stocks trade on what? Profits. Okay? So, there's your water cooler wisdom for this election cycle. Y'all have fun. Stay up all night and watch it. Make your popcorn and color in your maps. Not me this year. I'm going to bed. We'll talk to y'all next month.